Thank you for coming. So yeah, I know I've got link bots. Um, so I'm gonna just do those ones again. This first set, so I do have crimsondiamond.com. All the social media links and everything are there. And there is a demo on Steam and on itch.io. Now, I don't know if it's pronounced itch.io or itch.io. I saw Dr. Mikachu, she had a stream for her game launch Code Romantic, and she called it itch.io, I think. Anyway, what's really cool is the latest version of the demo is out on Steam and itch.io and on my site, and MacPort as well by Chad Armstrong. And there's no new story stuff at all, but it's just basically fewer bugs, better UI. Everything kind of works more smoothly. So if you haven't had a chance to play the demo yet, oh, you know what? I should probably swap to the trailer real quick. If you haven't had a chance to play the demo, this is the best time to do that because it is the best it's ever been. Itch.io. Itch.io, Gemini? Yeah, Itch.io. Cool. And Dan is in chat as well. Dan and I do music streams as well. And Dan I've got some Dan links. Yeah, so Dan is the musician working on this game. He's using the Roland MT32, which is really super cool. That's his website, Twitch, and his Twitter. And yeah, so I think next week we might be doing a music one again. And Team itch.io the day of war. Yeah. And here are mine again. And on mine you'll see a YouTube channel. YouTube, see Julia Minamata, and that's where you're gonna find a lot of all of our streams actually. So if people can't make the live streams, and I know I'm very bad at making live streams too, they get posted up in full on my channel. Of course, chopping the first 10 minutes off, which is just me tweeting at people. Hey Aziza, thanks for coming. Okay, so we're gonna get started. It's 8:07. Okay, so first things first, there is a previous stream. And the previous art stream is this stream. And there's a playlist of all the live streams so far. And what I covered in that is doing sort of environmental art. So like outside scenes, forest scenes. Let's see, is it here? Yes. No, that's not it. I removed it. Anyway, it covers sort of techniques on how to create the sense of depth in an EGA background. So we're not going to cover that. We're actually going to cover interior, like a room interior, which is what this one is. And this is kind of a step-by-step process of me generating one of the rooms in the Crimson Diamond. Yes, DNA Beast, I know. Don't forget to start recording. Yeah, so what I did was OBS has a setting that lets you automatically start recording when you press the stream button, which I did now enable, and it is recording. At least I hope so. Yes. And Michael Dykwolf remembers the Outhouse, which I produced. But you can watch that in the other stream. Okay. I hope I'm not talking too fast. I tend to talk too fast. Okay. Next on. Now, I showed something in that last stream about sprite scaling. So dynamic sprite scaling is not something that you find in EGA, usually not EGA adventure games, especially not Sierra ones. And that is showing this. Just an example of why, artistically speaking, we might not want to scale dynamically. You can see she gets a little bit weird in the face. Oh, hey, the Classic Gamers Guild. Yeah, so this is kind of my example of saying, you know what, at least in Sierra, I can't think of any EGA adventure games that had dynamic sprite scaling. But just, I think it was today or yesterday, I was thinking about the EGA version of The Secret of Monkey Island. And The Secret of Monkey Island, and I did get verification from someone on the Twitter of this. This is dynamic sprite scaling in the EGA version of The Secret of Monkey Island. Yeah, the day of where the eyes do look weird. And yeah, the thing is, the later games would do kind of eyeless characters, but you can see here, Guybrush has 1x1 pixel eyes, and they still did. Oh, Dan, I'm sorry, I didn't. That's enabled, eh? Yeah, I don't know. All that stuff is automatic default Nightbot stuff that I'm gonna have to play with. So I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Dan, about the bot kind of putting the smackdown on you. Yeah, Bill Coon. So this is a great example of sprite scaling, but this is one of the later EGA games that was ever actually made, and so I think that's why they eventually did figure it out. I'm so sorry about the bot. I'll have to fix that eventually. Okay, so that's an example of that's showing depth by moving from the back to the front, and it's a great example of that. But for my game, the Crimson Diamond, I actually didn't. I don't have sprite scaling because she gets a little funny in the face in some of those in some of those views. So how do we show a character moving through an environment without sprite scaling? And so I'm going to show that once I get my Photoshop up and running. Yeah, you believe me. No, Dan, I said to the bot that it should be super strict on Dan because Dan is just the worst. I'm going to open up some samples for showing some depth stuff. Real quick. It was going to be... okay. Let's switch over to the Photoshop, which doesn't have my face in it. Hold on. I got to copy paste this view onto the Photoshop view. I was having OBS issues. Okay. Great. Okay, so I took some photos. I took some examples. Apologies. This Colonel's Bequest had a lot of angles that they were very slanted to overhead to try and avoid this to a good extent. And that's 100% true. So here's an example of an issue with perspective as it pertains to real life objects, which also means it pertains to how we're going to draw stuff in a game. So we can see here, we've got some eggs, and you can say, okay, fine, well, I know all eggs are kind of the same size and the same shape. But the problem happens is when you take, okay, well, I've got an egg here. It's kind of about that big. But the problem is when you move it to the back, you can see how much of a difference that size is when it comes to back to front. And this is the issue with perspective that we have in adventure games when you're not scaling sprites, is when you're moving a character to the distance, they're not getting smaller. So this is not something that is achievable visually. And in order to achieve that feeling and illusion of depth in a game where you don't have sprite scaling, you have to use a few tricks. And I actually noticed a few really cool tricks when I was looking at some screenshots, which I'll be showing you soon. Yes, Grundislav, perspective is the enemy. I'm glad you're here because I'll be showing some of the ways that other artists handled perspective. And after seeing, I don't want to use the word cheat because cheat has such a negative connotation. But if you see some of the techniques that were used to show depth without actually having depth, you'll feel a lot better, I think, about how you do stuff. Yeah, Bill Coon said preserve orthogonal angles or surrender to the vanishing point. Hey, Orion! Oh man, thanks for coming. That's really cool. Yeah, so what I'm going to show is there are two real life views that happen where you won't have this problem with back to front scaling. And you'll see real soon why you don't see these a lot in games, and particularly adventure games. Oh, they're cheats? Oh, fine. Difference of opinion. You can have this view of the example, the side view. Yeah, clearly fine. They're all the same size, but there's no sense of depth here. And you get this in, I've got some examples of some depth or not a lack of depth. We've got Zelda 2, where this is a room where it's painted to look like there's depth, but I think he's really on one plane. Oh, Dr. Mikachu! Oh man, thank you so much for hosting me on your Discord and all that stuff. Yeah, I watched your 6-hour, it took a while, but I watched your whole 6-hour stream of your game launch of Code Romantic with your game dev presentation, and it was super, super educational, and I'm so glad I got to see that. And congratulations on your launch. And Quest for Glory 3 D&E Beast had sprite scaling. I don't know if anyone, we're going to ask everyone here if they know of any example of any Sierra EGA game that had sprite scaling. And then here's another example, of course, very famous example of that side perspective But again, there's no real depth here. There's, well, here's an illusion of depth with, the shadow here. We got a nice little shadow. But beyond that, this is not really well suited toward adventure games with such an emphasis on a setting and environment. Yes, Dr. Mikachu Longstream. And here's that other view of a real life example of a view that would have very little in terms of scaling, which is top view, bird's eye view. And it's not hard to see why this is not really a good way to do things either. Although there has been, at least one adventure game that I know of that uses that overhead view, and that is this game called Dreamweb. The art was by David Do, and Dreamweb was, I don't know what year this was, but anyway, you can see we have a very overhead view. This weird shape here in the shadow, that's a ceiling fan. And you only see this woman because she's lying down, and there's a guy sitting on the edge of the bed. Oh, hey, SH Don. Real-time sprite scaling or face scaling? Oh, I mean the real-time stuff. Because I know other games like Loom had some different sizes of sprites that were kind of swapped between, but it actually wasn't a smooth transition, is what I learned on Twitter today. Super Mario 3 obviously classic, but yeah, not really. That view is not really well suited. Sprite scaling in Leisure Suit Larry 2. Ooh, interesting. Well, that would have been EGA, I think. I don't think they did a VGA of Leisure Suit Larry 2. And hi, Moonstrike Lily. And hi again in 46. It wasn't smooth. Okay, so this is a great example here of why maybe this overhead view is not used a lot in adventure games, is because I can tell you that's a man sitting on the side of a bed, but it's really hard to see. And I think what's so great about adventure games, and one of our strengths, is that you can see the character in an environment and you kind of get a connection to that character. And it's really hard to get a connection to a character that you're seeing from this overhead view. Okay. And I think, was it Bill Kuhn who mentioned orthogonal? And we're going to, talk about that real quick. So we have other examples of different kinds of perspective. And one of them is, isometric. So here we have the top example is, the traditional two-point perspective where you have shapes moving toward vanishing point, diminishing as it gets to that horizon. Orthogonal view, isometric view is a very, there's no vanishing point here. Everything is it's all very, there's no scaling as you move to the back. It's all just a very, I don't want to use the word fake either because fake also has negative connotations. Hey, Skippy! Yes, Skippy, that's a good point. Like Dreamweb's top-down perspective does take away from that immediacy of that brutal violence that is in the game. And I also think that sense of disconnect also kind of works with the protagonist feeling disconnected from the world that he's inhabiting. So I guess in a way, artistically, it does work. But it's a very challenging perspective to take with an adventure game, that's for sure. Okay, so we have other examples here. So axonometric projections. Oh, isometric views for cabinet makers too. So here, I'm going to show a few examples of isometric in games. One of them being, of course, Fallout 1, which I saw on the internet that has trimetric perspective, but it's all basically the same thing. It's just the regularity of graphics, and we're going to show those real quick. These two. So this is infamous example of that kind of perspective where everything is all very regular. You don't have to worry about things diminishing as they go into the horizon or anything like that. And yes, the very, very first Grand Theft Auto 1 did have that kind of top-down perspective. I did forget about that. And the original SimCity, true enough. Although when you saw the buildings being built in SimCity, I almost feel like there was kind of a bit of orthogonal going on with an illusion. And here is trimetric for Fallout. But this is, I think, it's not really something we see in adventure games very much because of the emphasis. The benefit of something like this view is more like strategic when you have combat and you have to get line of sight and have all that be really super accurate. Yeah, Bilku, and I learned this too. I didn't know about trimetric until I saw someone say, you know what, Fallout 1 is actually not isometric, it's trimetric. But I think a lot of us back in the day, it would be advertised that view, like Crusade No Remorse, Diablo 2, all had isometric, that kind of isometric perspective, although maybe it was one of these other ones. Okay, moving on. Moving on. I've got notes, of course. Examples. Okay. And of course, yeah, stuff like, Stardew is another very famous example of something that uses a form of like artificial perspective, where everything is kind of all the same size no matter where you are on the screen. Because we're not doing 3D, and most people are not going to be interested in drawing, 5 different stages of depth for an orange tree either. Yeah, and Zelda too, of course. Yeah, Zelda is very, very famous for that kind of that artificial perspective. Oh no, I'm so sorry, you guys. I did not. I can see the bot is kind of going crazy, and I just those are the those are the default settings. I'm so sorry, you guys. Yeah, he seems really overzealous. Like Nightbot is way on top of things. Like I think it's his first time out, and he's really trying to prove himself. But I'll try to dial that stuff back. Is it? I don't know. Oh yeah, so I did enter some blacklisted words. It's a very short list of blacklisted words, and don't even try to test it. I shouldn't even have brought it up. But I didn't really put very many because I was like, oh, I don't want to even think of these words. Okay. Anyway, that'll need adjusting later, but just behave yourselves. Okay. Next. What else am I going to get into? www. Well, no, I think Orion Rezel. The problem is it doesn't like when people try to link too many things. Which is I don't really care, but yeah, that's a default, unfortunately, which I will have to look into fixing. Okay, so we talked about how it's done in other games. So why don't we look at some depth in adventure games and how that gets dealt with? Let's see. EGAs, depth, shallow. Okay, so one of the examples I have for doing depth is, not putting very much depth at all in them. And so here's a great example. This is Monkey Island, Secret of Monkey Island, EGA. And this is really cool because it's a room without actually being a room. There's no walls here. There's not much of a suggestion besides maybe here of where the floor and the wall kind of are different. Yeah, DNA Beast. I'm sorry about how Nightbot is being. He's really zealous. Oh, cool, for you got that same half top down, half front view. Yeah, it's a cool view, and I think because of Zelda and stuff, like it's just so comforting and comfortable to see that type of see that view. Yeah, Nightbot doesn't like VGA. Yeah, I might have said that to him a few times. Okay, but so this is great because this is a interesting way to solve the problem of depth, is kind of removing those landmarks of what the depth would be, would be like that horizon line and where the walls are and the rest of it. There's not a lot of diagonals here. There's not a lot of stuff that would indicate where you're standing, and that's a cool way to be, if you can, like if it's really dark. Yeah, so this is really cool. That's a really cool technique. And then we're going to look at some Zach McCracken. This is, of course, the great Mark Ferrari, among many. I wrote everyone's name down, actually. Basilio Amaro, Martin Cameron, Gary Winnick, Mark Ferrari. So you can see here, it's a pretty shallow depth of field, so you don't have a lot of floor that you're working with here, so there's not very much depth being created. It's just enough. Like, I'm sure he can walk behind this bed and stuff. But it's a matter of keeping everything pretty big and not having stuff too much in the foreground. Another example, another Zach McCracken piece is this one. Yeah, it's not cluttered. It's all very clean. I love how this is an enhanced version of Zach McCracken, I think. But yeah, it's a very shallow depth of field, which gives you fewer problems. And when I show some of the ones that have sort of a more top up perspective showing a room, that's where you get more problems than this. I actually use the same view Oh, here's another one. This is King's Quest 4, of course, EGA, SCI version. And this was, wrote this down somewhere. William D. Skirvin in 1988. Oh, I see. Yes, cheating to make it cluttered. That's another technique. Arthur 1043, Amiga looked way better. Yeah, Amiga had a wider palette, that's for sure. Dan, in one of our previous music live streams, he showed us kind of how great the music was on the Amiga, which I'm not that familiar with the Amiga myself. I never had one. But I was very impressed by some of that stuff he was showing from 1986. So Last Look wants to know regarding scene composition. Curious about the reasons behind very simple compositions of my rooms. There's specific reasons behind that symmetrical cut view, and not something a bit more photography and artistic in a way. Yeah, there is actually. So the architecture of the lodge and the Crimson Diamond is kind of based on like a very traditional style of like lodge log cabin construction where everything was very square and there wasn't a lot of architectural fanciness. It was all very workmanlike. It was all very standard square rooms. So that's part of the reason why. Let's see. Yeah, Brian Moriarty in his GDC Loom talk said that one of the LucasArts designers, maybe Mark Ferrari, said early EGA adventure game colors were like looking through the eye of a circus clown on pupil dilators. Yeah. It's true. So here's another example of a pretty shallow room. It's almost like that side view, but with just a little tiny bit of depth. And this is an easier way to do stuff for sure. And I do it too. Like this is a screen from the Crimson Diamond, one of the rooms, and I have templates for my rooms for a lot of the time because they are very regular in terms of what their size and shape are. And this is an example where there isn't much depth going on here. There's not a lot of space for her to move through from top to bottom. And that's a really good way to not have to deal too much with perspective if you minimize it this way and make it very shallow. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like this room. I really love this room. And the sad thing is so far, there are no real game reasons for this room to exist, except I had a symmetrical lodge floor plan, and this is literally a spare room, and I think it's called a spare room actually in the game. I just Yeah, it's there because it has a room on the opposite side of the hallway, and so there needed to be something here. Yeah, the Deovor says Ferrari loves clowns and circus to describe the palette. Yeah, the CGA palette too. How come the top edge has perspective on the left side and not the right? Yeah, that's me cheating a little bit. I did fix that in some other rooms. For instance, the study, I think I corrected that. So that's definitely something that could be fixed. Um, it's not fixed yet. Oh, and the wallpaper. Thank you. I love making the wallpapers, and I'm hoping to show some of that too when I actually get around to showing the process for the rooms. But before we get there, I still want to. This is still a bit I want to cover. Yes, Jordan almonds. There's Jordan almonds in the game, and I don't know how other people feel about them, but they're certainly not food. When in doubt, add an Easter egg. And Bill Kuhn thinks that the room's colors don't seem to clash, even though there's so many colors. And I don't know if you. I don't want to say this, but I don't know if you can have EGA art clash the colors because I think they're perfect. I think they're perfect together. Okay, so let's look at some deeper rooms and see how that problem kind of gets addressed, where you have a room that has more floor and a slightly different viewpoint. Let's see. I'm going to just pick out a few of these. This one. And there's actually some really clever ways some of this stuff gets solved, and I can't really say what the artists were thinking or if this is some problems they actually solved consciously or just stuff that was instinct for them. But I looked at a few things and I was really impressed actually. Let's just open up a few. Oh, and this one too, I think. There's a few I really do want to mention. I want to make sure I get them all. Okay, let's go with those. Yes, Arthur 1043, and if the wallpaper doesn't line up, you can just chalk it up to shoddy wallpapering. Okay, I'm going to show these two first. This is King's Quest 4. And, okay, yeah, there are scale issues, clearly, like this bed. is pretty big for anyone. And here's the thing: is I was going to save this till the end, but I just want to say that I've watched a lot of Let's Plays of these games, and I've never heard anyone complain about perspective and scale and all that. People just enjoy the setting and the story, and they don't get really that hung up on this technical stuff. Um, Orion Rezo, you find the lack of dithering disturbing? There is a little bit on the table. There's a bit of what's just a smidge, just a little. Okay, but yeah, so I tend to get wrapped up in the scale as well, but I can just say this is an example of this gigantic bed, but people who've played this game, more than once might not have really paid attention to that because it's really not important, right? The important thing is the setting, and you get wrapped up in that story. And yeah, the day of void, the yellow white dither is always so hard to see, and that's one of those great things. I talk about that a bit in my first art stream, where you can get these really subtle shades of different colors by placing two EGA colors with very low contrast beside each other, and the white and the yellow is a great example of that. That's true. Maybe the fisherman and his wife do enjoy it. Just yeah, who knows what goes on in this village, but that's their business. And I'd like to compare that to the beds in King's Quest III, which I thought was extremely smart when I took a look at this. Okay, so we have SCI King's Quest III, which was 1986. Yeah, who can pronounce Lalots? I called Lalot from King's Quest IV Lalot. And Skippy says they could afford not to sell the whole Marlin. Yeah. I pronounced it Lalot because I was thinking like Charlotte, like Lalot. I know some people say Lalotti. And yeah, DNA Beast, they do have very subtle dithering. These were the first SCI games. Oh yeah, so for this bedroom particularly, this is great and perfect because the beds near the front, these two beds. Oh, I should have picked a better color. These two beds. That's the large and the medium bed. So they're supposed to be big because they're for gigantic bears. Yeah, Charlalot, exactly. Still a lot. And this one here is the baby bear's bed, which is the smallest, which they've put in the back. Which I don't know, again, if they did this consciously or they just, they planned it this way. Because obviously when the beds are closer to the viewer, they're going to look bigger. So it just makes complete sense that the larger beds they would put in the front. So that was to me a really clever example of showing that sense of depth with making things bigger near the front, but yet it makes sense in the story why the bigger ones would be at the front. And yes, Anna, King's Quest III was stressful. It just makes my heart pound. I don't think it's good for my blood pressure. And Arthur 1043, yeah, the time limits, oof. Here's another example of scale. So I mentioned this bed in King's Quest IV as like a really outscaled bed, and King's Quest III sort of treating that scale issue in a very interesting and clever way. And yeah, the cutaways are really cool too. I'm a big fan of cutaway. So this to show that I don't think King's Quest III has anything on King's Quest IV. The scale, I think, in this room in the kitchen is a little strange, right? I mean, you've got this kitchen table which is as high as Alexander's head or Gwydion's head. No spoilers. And then we have this gigantic butter churn. Yeah, you could fit 5 kids in that butter churn. Hey, you know what? We don't even know if that's a butter churn. He's an evil wizard. So, you can only guess what kind of butter he's making in that churn. And you know what, Bill Kuhn? I noticed this thing, and I never really knew what that was. I thought it was like a pacifier or something. Does anyone have any idea what that thing above the fireplace is? Yeah. Unsalted butter. Okay, well, just to show, yeah, there are scale issues in this, but honestly, I don't think any of us were overly concerned when we were playing this, partly because of the time that was just ticking along the top. We were just, in a state of panic. But again, I think people are very forgiving when it comes to these types of issues in games. All right, moving on. Here's my favorite, of course. This is Colonel's Bequest by the art by Doug Herring. And what we have here is a great example of scale and how it was very smart of him not to put the same cabinetry from the back into the front. Because you can see that the cabinets in the back are small, and they do get larger toward the front. So if Laura was going to move around these cabinets and moved over here to exactly the same cabinet, the illusion gets kind of broken if that was the case. But you can see he was very careful not to make the exact same kind of counter with the exact same type of countertop moving through the space. And I've actually got a really good example of that that I've made here. Yeah, the cabinets look, you think they look ATM machine, they look a little bit inset, and the shelf on the back looks standalone. Yeah, they're very different. And the shading also helps, of course. Yeah, artistically the shading does give a lot of mood. Okay, so let's look at this. This is from Quest for Glory 1, obviously, so you want to be a hero, by Laurie and Corey Cole. And what I've done here is I kind of put some guidelines in. This is a really good screen to show some of this stuff because of all these benches and seats. Yeah, you can see for right. Yeah, they definitely take liberties with perspective, and that's honestly my point with all this is that people don't really notice, right? It's fine. Don't worry too much about it. I think anyway. That's my philosophy. I mean, others' mileage may vary. Okay, so we have some nice vanishing lines here. Some perspective lines going to that nice vanishing point here. And I'm going to show you what this would look like if there was sprite scaling. So let's put in some lines here to show where our figure would be. And so what I've done here is I've taken the figure, I've taken our hero, and I'm going to stick him right here. And I'm going to duplicate him, and I'm going to put him here. And I'm going to enlarge him so his feet fit in this new space. So what do we have? Maybe something like this. Vaguely, right? This is kind of him scaled to the size he should be if this was accurate. And so let's move him back to where the other one is. Like you might say, well, he didn't get really scaled up that much, but it actually, when you put them side by side, you can see how much of a difference that sprite scaling would have been. And yeah, this is what it should have done technically with dynamic sprite scaling. That's yeah, it would make it a lot easier DNA Beast to take care of the brigands. Yeah, you'd get stomp on them. Yeah, yeah, and Bill Kuhn, I think Laura Bow too, Dagger of Amon Rod, does have sprite scaling, and you don't really see her face, so you can't really tell. Yes, and he looks tiny in comparison, but this is, with sprite scaling, maybe that's what he should have actually ended up being. But it doesn't really matter because, this is a room where you don't get a lot of time. And like I said, players are just in it, and they don't really, they don't really pay a lot of consideration to this type of thing, which I think is for the best. Yes, yes, they would get really pixely and blob-like. And that's more obvious in EGA games with that dynamic sprite scaling. Like you can see his horrified face, as some people have said. It's not that great. Yeah, 1 point perspective is a nightmare in trade school drafting class. Yeah, I had technical drawing classes in college too, and yeah, I wasn't too fond of them. And one more example, and then we're going to move on to one more thing after this, and then I'll get into actually potentially drawing some stuff. And it's 8:40. Oh boy. Okay. So here we have, this is again the Colonel's Bequest. This is Doug Herring. You know what? I forgot to put music on. Why don't I do that? And you guys can tell me if this is too loud. Too loud? Volume is good? Cool. Okay. Great. Okay. So this is another example, another breakdown of some of these. We can put some guides in. This room has some nice handy tiles on the floor. And why don't we do the same thing with Laura, where we take her, oops, and I scaled her up according to where her feet would be. And it doesn't look very much of a difference, but it's actually like a pixel or two. But a pixel or two actually makes quite a bit difference. And that's even not from the very back of the screen to the front. And I'm going to show another quick example with what I mentioned about not having the same piece of furniture in one depth of the screen versus another depth of the screen. I actually took this chair and I said, you know what, why don't we stick that chair over here? Where's the other chair line? Anyway, let's put that chair over here and let's make it small. I had guidelines, I don't know where they are. Okay, let's scale that down to some kind of size. No, I had a guideline somewhere else and I don't know where it is. Oh, is it here? Anyway, roughly you get the idea. Oh, no, it's over here actually. Sorry, I probably need to use the same line. Okay, let's put that in there. Oop. Let's kind of make that nice and small. I was just trying to get it. Okay, there we go. And, let's put Laura over there. Yeah, it's a little baby chair. Oh, hey, Eden Waith. Yeah, Eden Waith is Chad Armstrong, and he did the Mac port for the Crimson Diamond, so you can find the latest version on Steam and on itch.io. And Overzealous Nightbot, I'm pretty sure, has already taken care of all that. So I'm not going to worry too much. Oh yeah, but this is the figure we're looking at here. So, you wouldn't want to put the same chair deep in and then closer, because it's very clear that illusion would get shattered of having depth that actually does hold up to some kind of scrutiny. Okay, and I think one more thing I want to show, and I'll get into it. I'm going to probably, not sure how long I'm going to stream, but I have a special treat for people who do stick to the end. I'm going to show my very first EGA room that I made, and the first version of the conservatory, and an illustration poster I made. I managed to combine my two things that I do, a freelance illustrator and doing game dev pixel art stuff. I actually got to do a pixel art poster for the Calgary Underground Film Festival. And I'll be showing all that at the very, very end when we stop, but that's not gonna, that's a bit of an incentive, but from here I'm gonna move on and just try to, work up a room and show some examples. But one more thing I have to show, which is the ultimate in this illusion of depth, which is hallways. And I think someone did mention in chat about the hallways in Colonel's Bequest, and how they have a very, very, very kind of up top view almost. Yes, hi Eden Waith, and yes, your hometown, Skippy. Yeah, Calgary Underground Film Festival. It's good people. It's good people. Okay, so we have here, this is a hallway in Colonel's Bequest, and you can actually see, with keeping in with the perspective, you can actually see, you know what, I need to be able to draw on this, I need to do this. You can actually see how, I need another color. How the difference in those two doorways from the rear to the front. You're from the States, Deluxe Tux? Canada, yeah, I'm obviously very biased. I'm Canadian, and Canada is beautiful. Especially Calgary, especially the mountains. But yeah, this here, the doorways, you can see. So you can see how very smartly this room, she transitions to another room once she crosses this barrier here. This is not like a scrolling room. You don't actually get to enter in this door ever from this screen, this huge door, because you'd very quickly see how Laura is not getting bigger. Everything else is, just not her. And so the trick is to just keep it very shallow, even though you've got this look of depth. Okay, and I'm going to show an example of my hallway in the Crimson Diamond. And when I was doing, I had a really hard time making hallways in this game because I didn't realize how high the Colonel's Bequest hallways were. I mean, in comparison. this view is much more from up top, and I'm much more from sort of a standing perspective. Yeah, DNA Beast, the perspective really, it's only when I really took a look at what they had done, what Doug had done, where I really appreciated it. So my solution was I used a trick myself. And so what I did was, you can see how we've got, my vanishing points, first of all, don't even converge, which I don't know if that's noticeable, but they don't. And then here's the door line. And this is the actual size of the closest doorway, what it should be on the screen. And you can see when Nancy's here, this doorway is would really be super high and tall. You know, she's not a tall lady, but this doorway is like 10 feet tall or 11 feet tall. Yeah, so the doorway, yeah, so on my hallways, the walking area of the hallway is like just this lit part. That's as far as you can walk up and down. Because of this issue, which was hard enough to hide even here, because you can see if I had shown the whole doorway, the doorway would be crazy tall for her. And what did I do? I hid that with the slanting roof, so you can't see the top of it. So you can't tell how outsized it is. Your mind kind of lets that be. Okay. If I missed anything, I think we're just about ready to get started. Oh, you know what? There's one more thing I wanted to show real quick. 846. Okay. On the Colonel's book. Oh, not this one. The Colonel's Bequest piece here. Something that's really kind of interesting. So this is another example of something when I really looked at these screens, how, you know, things don't really hold up and how that doesn't really matter. Okay, so this suitcase is the same as this suitcase. It's the same, it's just a recolored suitcase. Oh, Arthur 1043, thanks for staying up and thanks for coming to hang out with us in the Netherlands. And yeah, look, the rest of it will be put up on YouTube when it's all done, so you can catch the rest of it if you feel like you want to. And have a great night. So yeah, so this suitcase is the same size as this suitcase. But the thing is when you look at this bed, with the length of this bed, the closer bed is much bigger than the further bed, even though the suitcase remains the same. Something I noticed just yesterday when I was looking at these screens, and again, I don't think it particularly matters. These things were made on such a short time frame that these little cheats, I think, were I use the word cheat. These little techniques, I think, time-saving techniques are fine and cool. But yeah, I think it's not that important as long as, you know, you're getting the point across. And it's just a smaller suitcase, Moonstrike Lily? Okay, that's true. It's exactly just a smaller suitcase, just by exactly that proportion. Efficiencies, absolutely trusty. Efficiencies, that's the word for it. The Samsonite optical illusion line, Skippy? Yep. It's perfect. Okay. We're going to get started, I think, on doing an actual screen now, after, you know, nearly an hour. And yeah, like I said, if you guys stick around, I will show my very first EGA room, and the first version of the conservatory, among other things. So why don't we get started here? First thing I like to do, yeah, I had other screens here. I could talk about any of these at length, but, you know, it's 8:50, so let's not and say we did. Lost Look, you'll stick around? Yeah, you say Eclipse Studio Paint has some great perspective tools. There are a few in this I can show. It's not perfect. This is Photoshop CS2. Yeah, and you could do a whole hour on the Studio Shapiro. That's really true. Oh, thanks, Deluxe Tux. You're here to the end. Okay, let's get started. Now, I did mention I do have room templates because, yeah, like my rooms are all very square and regular. But I'll show from the very beginning super quick. Let's do that good old 300 by 200. We do RGB color space so I can work in layers. I mentioned in my previous stream that Adventure Game Studio will force the colors into the palette that I dictated in Adventure Game Studio, so it's not really a problem if the colors are a little bit off. Okay, so I like to start black background because that's what a computer screen is like. And oh, sorry, Michael Darkwolf, about Nightbot. Nightbot is going to get a debrief. He's going to get a talking to because I know he wants to make a good impression, but I do think it's a bit much. The bots. Okay, so starting here. Now, my technical, the way I usually do this. Oh, you know what? The second thing we need after we put the room down is we need Nancy. Like I mentioned, Nancy, in a room, there's a lot less play with scale like you would have in an outside environment because trees and rocks can come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, but humans, we tend to have a little bit of a smaller range of heights that is, you know, and stuff is built to certain heights, like beds are made to certain length and chairs and etc. So you have to be especially careful when making an interior room, just how big everything is, because it can get tricky. Yeah, the dear I use RGB. It's not a Irreverent Pixel. Thanks for coming by. Thanks, yeah, for hanging out and stuff. I hope it was good. I hope it was entertaining. So we're just gonna get this in real quick. Okay, let's start here. That might be a bit deep. Let's do just the basics. Oops. Oh, Bill Kuhn, the Amos room. I think I know what you mean. Like when you stand, it's actually a sloping room, and the Amos room kind of gives you the illusion of people being bigger and smaller. Is that the one? Yeah, I do start from a saved template for. I just wanted to show from the very beginning because I feel like just showing the whole thing might help people understand what's going on with it. Because I do have templates, but it's not too big of a deal to just flip stuff around. Get started. Oh yes, Bill Kuhn, the Ames rooms on YouTube. Yeah, it's you know, it's cool what the mind does with these things. Okay, it's a good enough start. And let's see, should I have... I feel like that's not enough room. We'll extend that. I'm not that, you know, this is all pretty... All this can get changed. This is all just still pretty loosey-goosey. And get in there. I like to break up stuff up in different layers, this type of thing, because you know, sometimes you need to change things pretty quick. Oh, contiguous, navigable layers. Oops. Just start building stuff in. Index color only in programs, yeah. The thing is with CS2 Photoshop is with indexed colors, the problem gets to be is like you can't really do layers. Do these screens make it in the screen make it in the game void QK? They don't, unfortunately. I'm at a point in the development of the next section of the game where I'm not really making any new rooms right now, so not really. But this is just for. Here's a. Yeah. I've got kind of one that I was starting partially before. So another really important thing is photo reference. I'm just going to show a few real quick, including the one I'll work from today. You can see this is the style of lodge that the Crimson Diamond is. And this is not just one. I don't know what the style is called, but this is a very standard type of lodge that you can find in terms of design. Oh, Bill Crane, Hugo 2, yeah, Hugo 2, I think he was still doing his own, David Peaker was still doing his own artwork at that point. Yeah, the Day of War, so when you do indexed mode in CS2, you can either, flatten visible layers and discard hidden layers. You can either say OK or cancel. If you go OK, it flattens, and then you can't actually do layers. It's kind of a weird thing, I guess. I never really thought twice about it. Okay. So yeah, so one of the rooms, it's really important to get kind of look of the rooms you want. You can see the what do you call them? The log cabin logs are actually a thing. So you can go in and start doing some of this if you want. Or I might cover this up. And then what I'll show is, the illusion of that depth would be, would show, no, gonna work too well. And oh yeah, we need Laura, Nancy in here. Oh, I don't want the image in the image ready. No, stop it. No. Okay. Untitled. Well, I don't know where that one went, so we're going to swap over to this. So this is that very same start. This is what I did on my own just to practice. Because I opened an image ready and then I lost it. So I'll show you this because I know it's almost 9, so I do want to show something in some state of completion. And something cool, so perspective tools in Photoshop, I think Day of War was mentioning. So Alex Talks are still trying to stare at that thing in the kitchen in KQ3. There are some sort of perspective tools you have in Photoshop CS2. One of them is you have sort of like warp and transform and skew. So, you can move this around if you really want. If you feel like it's not quite where you want it to be. Center. Important in CS2 to remember is in preferences, you're going to want image interpolation to be nearest neighbor and nothing else because it will get anti-aliased, which I will show. Let's do that. Yuck. So that's what happens when you have image interpolation that's not nearest neighbor. But so there's some finagling you can do. What I'm going to do next is very not EGA, just horrendous. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show some wallpaper. I think it's almost 9, so I want to get to something fun. Where are those log lines? Now my problem is I was watching Francisco of Grundislav Games. Oh, there we go. Doing an art stream, and I think yesterday he was doing an art stream, and he actually named his layers, and I thought la-di-da, he named his layers, and then here I go just not being able to find anything. It's good to name your layers. Okay, so let's do a wallpaper. Yes, he was here for a minute. Yeah, Grundislav is hard at work on Rosewater. Also, why don't we start a wallpaper? So all you really need to do is there's going to be a lot of duplicating layers. Let's just do something kind of random. Oh, it looks like DNA, isn't that nice? Future me will thank past me for naming my layers. I know, it's one of those things where I tell myself, well, that looks like a Prince of Persia thing. I tell myself, yeah, it's something I'm going to need to improve on. I should do that. This looks like a Prince of Persia. I like it. Okay, well that's fine. Yeah, it's... I should. Layers. You see a gnome? Oh, I see a gnome too now. It's not bad. Okay. Alien spaceship drill machine Orion Razzle? Yeah, something like that. It's kind of doing a... Oops. Yeah, I'm sorry that I kind of cheated and went to something I'd already kind of started. Because usually this stuff does takes time. And I don't want to... I don't want to just leave you guys with something that's just not in any state of completion. Okay, start with that. It's a bit much, isn't it, in terms of color? Let's push it back. And then we'll do a side wall. Show you what that would look like. Ascension ice cream cone. Okay, so why don't we do this to one of the walls as well. Oops. I'm gonna take this off completely for now. Okay, so we have this. We might need to give more. Okay. Stick this over here, and then we're gonna do one of those warps. Yeah, room. Yeah, for usually my murder hornet stand. Yeah, usually my room names are just latest, the actual real latest. This is it. It devolves from there. I'm really bad at naming stuff. So here's the thing: is that this isn't gonna look like excellently perfect or anything. It can just be a guide to what it actually is gonna look like. Or maybe it will look good, I don't know. But you can see how it's very pixelated right now. The wallpapers do need a fair bit of work when you do them. It's not the greatest, but it can be a good guide to start filling in some of that stuff later. This is where I use quick mask. So I did try Ace Bright for like a night. I want to get into it and try it more, but Ace Bright doesn't have this quick mask idea where I can easily select out part of a selection I've already made. I find it really super handy. And another way to give it a sense of depth is actually to make the color different than the one that's there. So what we could do is make that potentially brown. Yeah, quick mask the day of war is incredibly useful. And that's what I was so sad when I saw that I didn't really see Ace Bright having something like that. Yeah, Void QK you use Ace Bright because the Photoshop monthly, yeah, I'm not into it. I have CS2, I bought it in college, and I'm going to stick with it. It does everything I need it to do. And Anna, you say you put way too much stock in your future self to remember. You never do. Yeah, I'm not that good to future me. Let's put the bed. See here, and then we gotta. This is why it's good to have these on different layers, because the bed needs to be in front of the wallpaper. In fact, so. And like I said, like you might want to actually go in. You know, I'd probably eventually go back and start fixing this to make it look more like the original Death Hornet, or what have you. And then I would just go in and just copy paste on that pattern to make it look like kind of what it looked like over there. And that is what I did with this one. Is that I did do that transform, and I had to do a lot of fixing after that to make it kind of more resemble. It takes your eye to do that. Huh. Yeah, DNA Vista Adobe. Yeah. Yeah, it's not cool for me because I'm an indie developer. I'm not like making tons of money and stuff like that, and their old stuff works just as fine for me. And because I'm a person doing it on my own, I don't have to worry about it being compatible necessarily with what everyone else is doing in the office, because there's no one else in the office, it's just me. Okay. And let's see where Nancy was. Yeah, so here, this is an example of, go back in. That's another reason why layer mask is really nice, is you can come in and paint out areas. Oh, why is it doing that? Why is that? That's interesting. Oh, it's on layer mask still? What's happening? Oh. Right, I'm on the wrong layer. Yeah, SH Don, you say for index color, the older tools tend to work better anyway. You're always fighting with more modern software. I feel the same. Let's see. My perspective lines are so close to orthographic. Why didn't I use ortho? It's a good question. I guess I could potentially. I just the way I've done this stuff, I haven't really taken it into much consideration of what exactly formally what I was doing. I was basically just doing it by eye. And I actually do have a list of tricks here, which I'm going to go over real quick. We're at 9:08 of techniques that games have used to fake that sense of perspective when there might not necessarily be anything. And then it wouldn't need sprite scaling. And Paulo, you're right. You don't need the most advanced software for pixel art, and that's one of the cool things about it. Okay. So a few things. I'm going to open up one of the Kernel's Bequest screens to show some examples of this. What I've noticed in terms of if you're not doing perfect perspective, I'm doing it by eye like I am. Some things to look at. And then I'm going to go into around, when we hit around, I guess, 9:30, I'll go into showing my first EGA room and stuff like that. Okay. So, looking at this, so one of the things, like I mentioned before, if something is larger, it's closer to the bottom of the screen, which you can see in this case, these nightstands versus this dresser drawer. They're not exactly the same piece, but you can imagine the nightstand would not be close in size to dresser drawer. Another thing is how much of the top of items you're seeing. So this is all stuff like formally, yes, with the formal perspective, this does work too. Orthographic, it wouldn't, I don't think, work this way, but because this is kind of a bit of a fakery. So we have the top of this is, you know what I need, okay. The top of this nightstand, we're seeing quite a bit of that top. We're seeing that much of it. And then when you look at the top of this dresser, you're seeing this much. So perspective-wise, yeah, that does make sense. But as I said, this is Nancy. Laura does not get smaller as she gets to the back, so it is a bit of an illusion to have seeing more of the top of an item versus something that's further away. Oh, hey, Belkun, welcome back. Another point is doorways. Hiding doorways, floorboards, that type of thing that show those, this design on the floor that could extend and people could get some indication. And I use this as an example again. You can see the door in the foreground of this is actually, it's gigantic. The door in the back is to scale. These doors are kind of to scale. This door in the front is not, but you don't go there. And that's another thing. If you have stuff in the foreground that's very big, make it so the player can't walk there so that they won't see how gigantic that stuff is in comparison to the other stuff in the room. Another one is, I mentioned before that example with the chair, with the Colonel's Bequest. Like if you have a piece of furniture that's near the back, don't have the same piece of furniture near the front to be exactly the same size, because the eye won't follow that. They'll think, why is that chair in the back so much smaller when they're actually exactly the same size? And if it's one scaled correctly for the player, the other one won't be. And the last lesson is, yeah, and Orion Rezel said even the front edge of the doors on the sidewall compared to the back edge. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. If we can see just other examples here. This is Quest for Glory 1. You can see how the entrance, it's kind of, there's no doorway here. I do have doorways in the Crimson Diamond, but stuff like that is stuff that you can kind of hide and not have to worry too much about, because doorways are another thing that people are aware of when they're out of scale. Okay. So, going back here, now, we didn't mention our favorite thing to do, which is dithering. Which is... Oh yeah, I put a bunch of dithers. I prepped these and I didn't end up using them. So why don't we drag one of these over. Oof, that's no good. Kind of neat. Yeah, dithering. So I actually I prepped this room, a blank room with all my dither masks, and then I just did not end up using it. But yeah, I mean, with dithering, we can go in and make up all these fun colors. So let's see. Go back to that light cobalt. Yeah. Stuff like that. And then going back to the reference, we have, this is why my layers get to be a mess, because I'll do all these layer masks and then I want to put a picture frame on the front. So come on. I'm looking at my reference and I wanted to put a picture in here. I want to do whatever. Yeah, Bill Kuhn, I have seen Brian Moriarty's GDC talk. I think I saw that one. I know I saw Mark Ferrari, so I don't know. Maybe I didn't see the Brian Moriarty one. I feel like I must have. But I'll have to look again. I feel like it's something I would have seen, but who knows. And another reason it's good to have stuff on separate layers when you're doing stuff like this is you want to drop shadows in underneath. It's easy enough to do. Oh yeah, Bill Kuhn, you can try to post a link in chat. I don't know if Nightbot's gonna like it. I think it's okay occasionally. Modern Photoshop, you could do the room in full color and tell it to downsample to EGA palette. Well, and how much to dither? Yeah, for you can actually force an indexed palette in this version of Photoshop too. What ends up happening though is it can work. It can actually be a really nice guide when you're doing something in EGA. And I do use that technique when I did my my avatar. Oh hey, Google Horse Games. Oh no, the Facebook link doesn't work. Oh man, sorry about that. That sucks. Another problem. I'll have to let me make a note. Facebook. I feel like that's a mistake I've made before. So, bad on me. Oh man, Bill Kuhn, I'm so sorry. Yeah, nice try. That's Nightbot. Like that's. Let me write that down for Nightbot. Nightbot. Allow links. Yeah, those are just the default settings for Nightbot. They're a bit much. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably not gonna let you, Bill. Oh, hey. Huh. Absolutely Trusty says Nightbot might clearly be a Sierra fan. Yeah, apologies about that. Yeah, so what we can, and actually what's really nice when you're doing shadows like this, something that, see this is it can be actually really fun to give the shadows a sense of transparency. Okay. I'm just going to use this as a guide. And this is why my layers are a mess. Because you can go in and you can start doing this where the wallpaper is underneath. Something like that, where you get that repetition of the pattern, but it's underneath. It's affecting that wallpaper. It's a subtle thing, but it can actually really be a nice effect when you have stuff like that over, you know, the rug and all the rest of it. So let's see about that. Yeah, avoid QK. Automatic dithering is really handy, as you say, but you do have to touch it up. Like you do have to use your eye to fix it. And I'm actually thinking that might be a cool thing to show eventually. How that actually works, taking something from like a photograph or something to EGA. That might be something people might be interested in seeing. Because it does take a lot of work. It's not just a matter of pushing that button. There's some, you know, human eyes involved. Copy, paste, and delete the spaces. So this is a very solid looking shadow, so what I would probably do is potentially do the same thing. Where it kind of... Oh, you know what? Put it on top. And this is how the layers get to be a mess. Color wouldn't work there. This might be a job for dithering. Blue, dark cobalt dithering. We'll do the palette conversion for Roy on the reference cabin photo. Let's see. Yeah, I'll take a quick look at that. Yeah, wait a second. Just gonna do that. It's so funny to do this like this because you get the idea of what I'm going for here. To actually start in with the dithering, it'd be more like a detail pass, but because I want to show you guys different aspects of how the art gets made. It's kind of all being done in different stages. Yeah, so you can see you're getting an illusion of the shadow under the bed there, just with some judicious dithering and color selection. Okay, so let's see. It's been a while since I've done this, but let's take this. You need. I do have a. You can take a custom palette. You can load a custom palette. If I can find it. I've got a palette somewhere here. Where would it be? You know what? I think it might be hanging out. Palette stuff. Sounds promising. Oh, here we go. Okay. Oh, hello, MB185. Hello. So let's load up those. So here's the palette here. We've got the color table. Say OK. And this is what you get with that. So this is the preview. You know. Oh, you know what we could do is we could downsample that too. The Day of War is the Crimson Diamond backed up responsibly. I have Google Drive, OneDrive, on an external, on the actual machine. Yeah, it's in a few places. Enable the dither drop down. There's a dither drop. Oh, you mean one of these? Yeah, there's different possibilities here. Diffusion, pattern, noise. Yeah, there are definitely different methods people can favor depending on what the situation might be like. So yeah, you can force it, but what I should have done before I did that is downsample, probably, right? So, 20. Okay, not bad. Yeah, so I mean that's more like it, right? Now you can see the dithering patterns a bit more clearly. Or not. So it kind of depends. I mean, this is a good place to start, but you can see how much work it's going to be to get from that. Especially if you have an eye for what the shapes you want and the colors you want. Like, you're probably going to want more colors than what actually is appearing here. Oh, Danny, this is not proper. Not proper EGA. Yeah, like this EGA palette I have, like I said, I kind of let Adventure Game Studio do that stuff. You can tweak the percentage. Yeah, exactly. So there's a few things you can do with it. It's coming on almost 9:30, so I'll show my first room. I think we're getting to that time. But yeah, this is very sketchy, but just now to give you an idea of what you'd want to do. And yeah, and definitely filling the room with stuff, like hiding the corners and doing everything. You can definitely kind of make the perspective not as obvious. Oh, ask Alice. How you doing? Oh my goodness. Ask Alice is an awesome Twitch streamer, and she streamed um, the Crimson Diamond demo on a whim. And because she actually had something she was scheduled to stream. And so she said, I'm going to load up this demo real quick and see what it's like. And yeah, it's been so long, Ask Alice. Yeah, it's 3 hours later. She's still playing the demo. I think she got 30% through the demo in 3 hours. Oh man, thank you. Yeah, I loved your demo. I mean, your stream of it, and it was so surprising. Because I actually love when people tell me when they're streaming stuff, because I want to watch, because it is like live playtesting for me. So it was so cool to actually have the chance to jump into your stream and see you play it and enjoy it. That's the best part for me, is to watch people enjoy. Yeah, so I was just showing a few things. I was just showing, some. This is a very, very sketchy rune process. Didn't really, wouldn't get very far in a stream, unfortunately. As opposed to, for those of you who are just joining, I can show what I advertised with, which was this one. Much cleaner looking. And yeah, what's interesting is the reference photos I just showed you guys today were the same reference photos I used for this specific room. So if you look at the pattern of the rug, I actually got that pattern I've got that pattern in the reference stuff. I think it was this one, as sort of I think it was a period accurate rug pattern. So I used this as sort of my inspiration, and you can see that there's a lot of this log cabiny stuff, and so I used quite a lot of that when I was actually generating that. Yeah, and that was the master bedroom of the lodge. Yeah, Void QK, that GIF was, I think, like 45, 50 layers of animation, like 50 frames or so. So it took a while. Oh yeah, so I'm going to show you guys. It's 9:27 now. I want to show you guys my very, very, very first EGA room that I made. So first things first, this one. And you can see a very early version of Nancy, and she hasn't changed very much actually from that. And I did mention to people when I've talked about this screen is that I didn't have her in this screen until much later, and when I actually put her up against some of the chairs and everything, I didn't feel like the scale was quite right. Like this back, this back thing is way too deep, things like that. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like it. It's my first EGA room, and it encouraged me to try another one. The second room I ever made for the lodge was the kitchen, and that actually is still in there. So I think I caught on pretty quick to what I wanted it to look like. Thank you guys. Yeah, the lighting is something I was really looking at. I was looking at, of course, the Colonel's Bequest, stuff like that. To get that shadow and just having that dithering come in, the different layers, the different halo of light that's created by the light and the shadow. That fish is too happy, suspiciously happy to be there. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So this was encouraging to me. So the next room I made was the kitchen, and the kitchen cabinets are very basic looking, and I think that just because it was my second room, and I wasn't sure exactly how I wanted it to end up looking. Yeah, the slant with the pipe exhaust. Orion Rezel says it's very Seuss-like. Yeah. Oh yeah, this wood stove is gigantic. Like that's another scale issue. It's not quite there, but it was enough for me to try again and try again. The right wall is really bright. Yeah, the right wall is very bright. So that's that. And I'm going to show you. So this is basically what the conservatory looks like now. This is still an early version. Mostly it's there. Like I took away these plants because I ended up putting a chair in this area, and I felt it was too busy. But this is what it looks like. But my first attempt at the conservatory was this one. Oh, thank you, the Day of War. You're saying that's your favorite screen at the moment. Oops. So this is the first one that I made of the conservatory. And I realized that the view was just not working for me to do the cutaway and have it like this. So that's why I actually ended up flipping this room around. Because I realized... oh, thank you, Ask Alice. What I realized is that for the floor plan of the lodge, this doesn't actually make any sense because it's actually, the conservatory is at the end of a hallway. So if you went into the hallway, you went into the room, and then you end up coming out this way, it's really confusing. So that's why I ended up flipping the conservatory around. And I don't know if you guys recognize this poster at all. Any guesses? Does this look familiar? Oh, Void QK, I'm glad you like the later conservatory version better. Paulo, you do. Le Chat, yes. Le Chat Noir. And what's fun is I actually ended up using a lot of posters in the Crimson Diamond are actual posters that I made into little tiny pixels. Last look your parents have this. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to show everyone what that. It's this. Beautiful Art Nouveau cat poster. And it's one of my favorites too. And so what I did was I actually ended up using it not just in this, conservatory room, which for some reason disappeared. There we have it. Oh, thanks, Roberta. You like the absinthe poster? Yeah. Oh, Alice, you had the poster at uni? Yeah, I don't think you were alone in that. I think my sister had this one too. Even in pixel form, you recognize the cat eating away. Yeah, that was my hope. I love to just try to get, more and more lower resolution and see if it actually. Oh yeah, so Furo, you say that it went from day to night. Actually, there is still a day version of Conservatory. I think I have it. I think it's in one of these other stuff. Did I put it in the stuff folder? I tried to clean this up so that it's not as crazy. No. There is a day version of it. Let me just go through my other files. Because I do want to show you there is a day and night cycle in the Crimson Diamond. And all the rooms have a day and night version. Although I will say that for the Conservatory, which actually has a lot of light coming in, it's actually very dramatic in the Conservatory, and it's more dramatic in the Conservatory than any other place. Huh. You know where it is? M85 Dither Me Timbers. Yeah, you're getting, hopefully no spoilers. Hopefully this is all hidden away nice enough that you're not gonna... I do want to show that, and then I'll show the illustration poster I did. Let's see. You can see my naming convention is just disastrous. Jojo, the pianist. Hey, I didn't catch you sneak in. The final, I think they're like probably like 60 to 70 rooms. I think it's not very big. It actually it's actually kind of like an Agatha Christie bottle mystery, where it's a very set setting. So there's not a lot of it's not as big as most other games. Ask Alice, you want to replay the game to do it justice? You did, yeah. I did you even get to the dining scene? So this is the daytime version of the Conservatory. So you can see that the tiles and the shadow of the tile here is the color of the nighttime version here. So all the rooms have a day and night version, but most of the rooms don't have huge windows, so there's not too much of a difference. But there is some, like the light coming in through the windows in different rooms will shine on nearby things. Oh, nice trees through the windows. Oh yeah, thank you. So this old version of the night version, Bill Kuhn, the new version of the night version does have the trees in the back there. It's just old. Because I'm disorganized and I don't know why I didn't plan on showing that. And lastly, I will show the illustration room. The illustration poster that I did. Because I did it in, it's got a bunch of rooms in it. It's actually a cutaway. And it chose a slightly different style than that the Crimson Diamond does. Here it is. Yeah. So here it is. And so we get here. I actually, because it's a poster, I wanted it to be very legible, so I ended up outlining all the objects in black. And that's because, yeah, I don't know, it's a different style. In the Crimson Diamond, I tried not to do that. I wanted it to be more like a painting, which is light and shadow are defining the shapes. Oh, sorry, Ryan Razzle. Yeah, it doesn't like it when you yell. Nightbot does not like yelling. I gotta write down Nightbot, let people... caps. Okay. I'm so sorry. Yeah, that's just not on. Okay, yeah, so let's go through some of this. Oh yeah, look! I actually ended up, this is a different version of that cat poster. So I snuck it in there. Yeah, you know, don't feel bad about being enthusiastic and excited. But yeah, so this is it was fun for me to do this. Instead of combining pixel art with illustration, I think this is the only time I did it. I got to do this on any large scale. And this is an EGA palette. And yeah, I think I was watching a lot of Breaking Bad at the time, so I think what we have here. Oops. No, I don't want to. No, don't do that. Yeah, this is barrels of meth, I guess. I don't know. Like I remember Breaking Bad had blue barrels with bumblebees on them or something. It's been a while since I saw the show, but that's just, I don't know what I was thinking. Periodic table of elements. Yeah. Yeah. So this is EGA. Let's see what 792 by 1143. Yeah, that's the B symbol, Paulo. Yeah, you can see. Yeah, I was into the Breaking Bad at that point. Oh, the poster, Bill Kuhn. The poster is it's actually it's a famous Art Nouveau cat poster thing. So you can see it used to be in the conservatory. This is what it actually looks like, and I snuck it in to this poster here. Because I couldn't help myself. Oh, the whole house poster. Aziza, thanks for coming by. Yeah, I think we're going to be wrapping it up fairly soon. But have a great night, and thanks for coming by. Yeah, this poster was for the Calgary Underground Film Festival. And I think they were pretty open with letting me do just about whatever, which is probably why I did this. I submitted a bunch of different sketches and stuff, but they let me go ahead and do this one. Yeah, so it was for an actual illustration job. So I'm a freelance illustrator, and so I do mostly like magazines and newspapers. Well, I used to do magazines and newspapers and stuff. So it was really fun to do a poster, which is like a larger format that I'm used to working on. Most of my stuff was printed like very small, and it was in a magazine for like maybe a week or a month, and then that was it. So it was really cool to be able to do a poster. Yeah, Calgary Underground Film Festival. Um, yeah, I mean, you can see I did some, shadows and different things, shadows, and it's a lot of fun. Actually, something kind of fun, real quick, is yeah, I did, I really like Breaking Bad, and actually, one of my art pieces that I did as an editorial illustrator ended up being in the show. It actually was in a shot that lasted 3 or 4 minutes, 3 or 4 seconds. Void QK, did I know any coding before the Crimson Diamond? I know I didn't. Well, okay. I did do a little bit of coding in high school. I did a little bit of Java, which I don't remember. I did a little bit of something called Turing, which is a teaching language based on Euclid. That was developed in Toronto, and so that was a kind of a basic programming course. But so I think I did remember some of that stuff, and it did help me. But I kind of left that all to go because I went to school for art, for visual art, and I didn't pick up any programming again until I started making rooms for the Crimson Diamond. So you saw that first room that I made, and this conservatory thing. So I started making these rooms here and there. So first was this one, second was the kitchen, the third was the parlor, and I just kept building and building. And I had seen Let's Plays of Francisco Gonzalez's games, Grindeslav games, his Ben Jordan stuff. And I learned about Adventure Game Studio, and I saw some YouTube tutorials on how to use it from step by step from absolute beginning. And so that's kind of how I started to learn how to work with the engine and how to do programming, and that's basically as far as I've gotten with it. You do Java every day, Orion Rezel? Yeah. I can't remember. I drew a triangle in Java, as far as I know. The shop poster is seen at the Art Institute of Chicago, Edenwith. I'd love to see it. Oh wow, ask Alice, you started in software engineering, then did fine arts? Oof. And Lost Look wants to know, do you think it's possible to learn drawing with pixel art? I think it's possible. I don't know if that's how I would start necessarily, if I was going to start somewhere. I was really fortunate in my art education. I was taught very traditionally, where we did a lot of hours of still life studies, hours of doing life drawing, which drawing of a model, like a person, a nude model. So you get to see how the human body moves and how weight gets shifted, all that. So that's my background, and I think having a strong fundamental like that really. It's why this exists at all. It's why this project exists, and why I was kind of able to transfer those skills to pixel art. I think those very basic skills of drawing and painting can be transferred to other places, maybe more easily than the reverse of learning pixel art and then trying to do drawing from that. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I feel like that foundational drawing and what I learned in terms of how to do perspective. The atmospheric perspective and linear perspective, and those tricks that I learned there, I was able to translate them into pixel art, which was really helpful for me. Bill Kuhn says, see if you can put the film festival poster somewhere in the game. Don't tempt me. It's these ideas, as a solo indie dev, it's these stray thoughts that you end up implementing and taking way too much time on, and then just being happy about, even though they aren't necessary. But you're like, well, I'm doing it myself, I can do whatever I want, and then you end up doing whatever you want. Good thing and a bad thing. Dave, well, you've only ever done programming for money, but it'd be rad to do art. And yeah, art. I think, especially as an indie dev, I know a lot of indie devs start on the programming side and either hire someone to do the art, which can be very expensive, or they learn it on their own. And I think it can be handy even to learn some art, even if you don't plan on making your own game with your own art. I think it's good to have an understanding of how the art does get generated, because you'll be able to give direction to your artists a lot better if you have an understanding of their perspective. A Lost Look. Do I have any idea how complete the game is so far? Well, the demo that you can find on perfect timing. The demo that you can find on Steam, on itch.io, on my site for Windows PC or Mac. The demo is, I would consider, the first chapter of a 7-chapter long game, and I've fully completed 3 chapters so far. I'm starting to develop the 4th. Programming is a very safe money as a day job, way safer than art. I can tell you that much, just from my side of it. So I've done 3 of 7 chapters, and I'm working on the 4th now. But I will say, as I get further into development, the testing gets so much longer. Like I thought in the end of February I was just about finished with section 3, and then it's taken me up from the end of February to now to actually be done with the testing and the fixing and just fixing the user interface and everything. So the testing part gets so much longer with each chapter that I end up building. So I'd like to say very roughly that I'm half done, even though I would say most of the graphical assets are done. A lot of the animation I can reuse. It's my first project, so it's anyone's guess, but I'll say safely halfway. Oh, the day of what? The UI, I basically, what I did was, there's a separate slider for sound effects and music, and they actually work now, which they didn't work before. That's the big difference in that. Because Dan, the musician who's working on the game, he was saying, you know what, I want the slider to work so I can play the game and turn off the music, but still the sound effects. And the sliders weren't working anyway, so now they work. Dan, you made more work for me. You really did. But no, it's stuff that needed to be done anyway. I know that. I mean, people want sound effect and volume sliders that work. So I get it. I should name this layer Figure, so I don't have to look for her anymore. Okay, so I figure it's like 9:47 now. I'll take it to 10, just working on this slowly, trying to make it look not as it does. Where's my reference? And if you guys have any questions for me, and Dan's here too, so if you have any questions for me or Dan, let us know, and we'll try to answer them while I'm sticking around trying to make this look a little like a thing. Let's see. Yeah, Eating With, you're right. I suspect very much that this is correct when you say, when you're 80% complete developing the game, the last 20% will take the other 80% of time. 100%. I'm not looking forward to that, but I accept my fate. Make it look not as it does. Yes. That is the goal right now. Because I promise, I feel like a fraud right now because I'm showing you, rooms that look much better than this, and the room that I just started working on today that I kind of, talked through looks, as it does. And, you might think that I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't, but I know a bit more than it would seem at the outset. Oh yeah, so Dan's saying next week should be the 2 of us working on some music. Yeah, so it could be that. It could be, that's the plan. What just happened? I wasn't even touching anything. It could be that. That's what our plan is right now. But I put a poll on my Twitter, which was, do people want to see EGA demakes of other games? That's another potential for the next stream. Yeah, we can do that. Oh yeah, let's show the kitchen, I guess, because Oh, look at that. So, I swear I can make stuff look nice. It's not someone else. That's how it starts. It's a first draft. That's right, Moonstrike Lily. Bill Kuhn, we're going to try to stick to Tuesdays, 8 p.m. EDT, Eastern Standard Time. And then, as always, with this stuff, I always post the full video on YouTube because I'm another one of those people where it's hard for me to catch live streams a lot of the time, but I love to go back and watch them on, when I can carve out some time, or when I'm working on something where I can listen to something at the same time. So it will all be put up on my YouTube. Oh, Void QK, thank you so much for coming, and have a great night. And I'm glad you enjoyed seeing me kind of muddle my way through, like a very strange version of something. Would you stream Lost Look wants to know if I would have streamed myself actually working on the project. That's a tough one because the stuff I'm working on right now is stuff in the story that's like chapter 4, like I said. So a lot of it is just like top secret story stuff. So I don't know if I would end up wanting to show that. And maybe if I was working on background screens, I know Grundislav works on background streams in his art. Oh look, I just put a little tiny Nancy there. So maybe when I'm doing more art stuff, but right now I'm just roughing everything out. It's potential though. I need to hook up with the car. Am I missing anything? Even with it's called imposter syndrome. Yeah, but I feel like it's on display right now. It's like you say, sure. She doesn't. The heck. In fact, I don't even know what happened here. I think I was on a wrong quick mask or something, and it's driving me crazy. So I'm gonna turn that off and pretend it's not there. Ferroy says you never get imposter syndrome when programming, but all of it in spades when drawing program art. Yeah. Art is one of those things where, programming is one of those things where it either works or it doesn't work. And when it works, you're like, okay, fine, it works. But with art, it's just all, it's a continuum of working and not working. It's never one thing or the other. So that's the problem with it. It's very subjective. You never know when to stop. Well, let's make some fun. Stream pressure is real. Absolutely trusty. Yep. Because I'm doing this, I'm like, oof. I don't know. People this is the most boring thing ever. I'm so sorry, thinking that. Well, I've seen people do, I'm fine with watching people doing whatever, just about. But for me, I always want to make sure that it's something, people who are watching can be interested in. And I want to make sure that it's not boring. The Deluxe Tux, it's all about making the hand do what the brain says. I don't think any of us are there 100%. It doesn't make it perfectly ever. Because I do want this to be interesting, but I don't know. Last look, what is my favorite part to work on so far? It's a really good question. I might have to say the actual making of the story, the actual writing, because I love doing the research for it, and I love finding cool things in the research that I feel like I can include in the game. I love having story ideas and wanting to tell a really cool story and have people enjoy that. That part I think is really cool. Like being able to show people a story, like tell a story that people can participate in, I think is what I enjoy the most. The writing is the hardest part for Roy. Oh, put a lump in the bed eating red? Yeah, let's put a lump. Taking suggestions. The hardest part for me is the testing and the coding because, yeah, that's what I have least experience with. My second favorite thing, I think, is when I make an animation and then I implement the animation. And it works and it feels like I've made something come alive. Oh, Anna, you had a hairless Rex cat. Oh, those things are so cute. There's a lump under that bed. Careful. I think I'm getting a bit of lag, which is why these pixels are not being perfect, and it's kind of bothering me. Nice cat lump. Thank you, Bill. Oh, bye, Jojo. Thanks for dropping by. Really appreciate it. NPC AI is the best part of you, right? Oh my gosh. I wouldn't even know where to begin. It's ridiculous. That's what it is. And I will say that this part of it, where you just kind of get in there and get lost in those details, it's really soothing. I've had someone say that it's kind of like cross-stitching, and I've gotten into cross-stitching recently, and I will say it does feel a lot like that. Is there a purr sound effect, Bill Kuhn? There probably is a purr sound effect when we do another sound stream with Dan. I'm sure we can find a horrendous version of a purr. Yeah, Roberta, embroidery? You like to do embroidery? Embroidery is, like, I think another level up from cross-stitching in terms of difficulty. So I'm trying to make it look like the bed in the reference. So it's got like a bunch of like overhanging stuff. It's very rustic. Eaten with, sometimes your cat lump does not animate until someone sits on her. Yeah, Bill Kuhn says he can't imagine being under the development time money crunch for something like this. Business art tug of war makes you appreciate what the developers did. And I gotta say, I really agree with you. Like, I can't believe so many of those games that we love so much, like the Quest for Glory and stuff like that, they took less than a year to make. And it's with like these tools that are so much harder to use than the tools that we have at our disposal now. So just the fact that they're able to make anything at all, and then they're able to make something that is so classic to us under those constraints, it's really hard to imagine. Well, they did have a whole team, Roberta. You are right about that. But I still think it was pretty awesome, especially because they were like trailblazers too. They were making it up as they went along. This is why everything. This is what happens when we get a bit of a mess. So we're getting there, right? Thank you. Yeah, it's wild how fast the Quadrilogy 2 came out the day of war. You're right. Dormez-vous. Yep. This is actually one of my inspirations for the music of the game. This is the Great Canadian Tune Book, and it's a bunch of MIDI. It's 6 hours of MIDI Canadian folk songs, and it's just amazing. It's kind of, I started, some of the older versions of the demo had this music in it, but I couldn't find this guy. Like, I couldn't find Barry Taylor, who made the tune book. I couldn't find him to ask him if I could use the music. And that's kind of why I started looking for musicians to make the music for me, which did work out because I got in touch with Dan and we started working together. So it really worked out, but I do really love these MIDIs. Yeah, Bill Kuhn. Yeah, there are SCI Editor, SCI Companion, those types of softwares. I don't know what they're exactly called, but yeah, there's plenty of documentation of what they used. And I've actually tried to use something similar, and I tried for about 5 minutes before I realized that it just wasn't going to happen because it was step-based drawing, so you had to plan everything out and then just execute it. And that's not what I do. I clearly am just a meddler, and I just work on the pixels until they look kind of okay. So that just wasn't going to work for me. You had to like graph everything. Yeah, I need 7 more of me for Heroes Quest team. Roberta says it's kind of funny, though, to hear the Coles moan about the games after the first because they thought too many people in the pot sometimes and because they felt they didn't get enough hands-on with the artists themselves. Yeah, I can see that. Like, I can see wanting to have a lot of control. I mean, when I'm working on this myself, I love the fact that all these decisions are up to me. But I can see why they'd feel that way. But, I mean, the results speak for themselves. Like, people, including me, love that stuff. Love Quest for Glory. So yeah, it's kind of amazing that it happened at all. For I say you did all the coding and art but had to get someone else for sounds and music? Yeah. Yeah, music I don't understand at all. Music is just magic to me. The sound effects, there are some sound effects still in the demo that I've made. Like the doors opening and closing. I use something called Beeperbox. That's an in-browser like chiptune thing. So I have made a few things, but like Dan is going to go back and make those things better and make them MT32. Yeah, I am. It's a bit laggy right now. I'm working on a. Can I close any of this stuff? Why do I have Firefox open? Close Firefox. Maybe that's my problem. I'm working on an 8-year-old Surface Pro 2, so it's chugging a bit. I don't know why. I gotta preserve my RAMs. Oh, thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys coming in. Hanging in. It's been 2 hours, so I'm probably gonna call it soon. I just want to catch up on chat. Yeah, absolutely, Trusty. I do follow two Twitter accounts that do Sierra backgrounds. Yeah, I can't imagine working that way, but it is. I loved the effect when I was playing like King's Quest 1, where you walk from scene to scene and you actually get to see that the background draw itself in front of you. I always thought that was so cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing those, everyone. There's 32-bit Kid and AGI stuff. Those are the ones I follow, too. Oh, Paulo, you also use Beatbox? Beatbox is surprisingly robust, I have to say. For something that's just in browser, like you can even save and load and everything. I was incredibly impressed with it when I was using it. DNAB says, did you know you can use a preview window? If you go to Windows, there's an option to open to same window again. This way you can be zoomed in. Yeah, there is, and this is called histogram, I think. Yeah, so there's this? Is that what you mean? Whoa. Whoa. What the heck? Is this it? Yeah, I say I've used Photoshop pretty much every day for the past 15 years, but there's still stuff I'm learning. Yeah, 32-bit kid. He's got such a cool, Twitter account. Like I love watching those draws too because I learned so much. But you can see there we're kind of getting there. You know, I'm getting some suggestion of some shadow of those blankets falling on the. In fact, we could tend to do some more of that. Yeah, my computer's not that happy with me, but it'll have to because I'm going to continue. Window, arrange new window. Arrange new window. Yeah. Well, what do you know? That's cool. See, I just learned something new. I never knew. Oh. That's really cool. Yeah, I did not know that. Today I learned. Yes, Moonstrike Lily. We decided there is a hairless Rex cat under those blankets, and it's gonna sound like it's gonna be an MT32 sounding cat. Oh, what do you know? Yeah, that is really cool. Thank you, Danny Beast. That's stick that one in my pocket. But yeah, that's pretty much how it starts. Bill Kuhn, yes, I'm using a Surface Pro 2 right now. It's running OBS. It's running Photoshop. I think that's all. And it's, oh, you know what? Hold on, let me test something real quick. Okay, yeah, actually, I thought I had to have Firefox running to keep Nightbot up, but I didn't, in fact. So it was running Firefox and Photoshop and VLC Player and OBS, but now it's not running Firefox. It's a good machine. I've done all my development on it. Oh, you know what's another cool way to show shadow? We can do some baseboards. What color? Sometimes I'll go in and hand dither, and then yeah, maybe. Yeah, streaming is pretty resource heavy. And Surface Pro, like I love mine. So the one I have is a Surface Pro 2, and the Surface Pro 2 uses Wacom drivers. So I can buy any Wacom stylus to use with it, which is really cool. Later versions of the Surface Pro 2 used other drivers, which apparently, I'm sure now it's all fine. And apparently there were fewer levels of sensitivity with the other drivers, but I'm sure now we're at Surface Pro 6 now. So I'm sure it's like indistinguishable, really. Like, this is not the stylus that this machine came with. This is a bamboo stylus, like I don't know. It's got a special, like the tip is not plasticky. Like it's got a bit of friction to it, which is what I prefer. MB185, you love your Surface Pro? I love mine. Yeah. And I actually have an iPad that is actually pretty good too. But for doing everything, like I love the portability of this. Alright. Getting there. Getting there. People always talk about how the bamboo wasn't worth every dollar. Like, I don't know, I don't actually have a bamboo. The actual, whatever that part of it's called. The pad part, like I just have the stylus, and I bought the stylus specifically because of the kinds of tips it has on it. Oh, you got a DNA Beach, you got a Cintiq? I've always wanted a Cintiq. My friends all have Cintiqs, and they always talk them up to me. And that would be super cool. I have an Intuos. I used an Intuos 2 all through college, and I loved it. Yeah, everyone tells me how much of a game changer Cintiq is. Oops. Yeah, eating with. I have an Apple Pencil too, and the lack of friction kind of bothers me. Like, it's not bad on pixel art, but when I was doing illustrations and stuff, like, I needed to have that feel more like I was using paper and pencil. It was really weird feeling to me. Wacom tablets are great. You have a Tabby tablet? Holy cow. I don't even know what that is, but I like this. I like the name. Dave, you have an Intuos? Yeah, so I have an Intuos 2, and I actually have also an Intuos 4, which I bought really cheap from an animation studio that was going out of business. I got it for $250, I think. But yeah, Cintiq is something I always think about. But now that I'm not really doing as much illustration, I'm doing more pixel art. Like, I don't know if I need it. Oh, let's see. That song was. That song was Grand. I don't know what that is. I know it sounded familiar to me too. Oh no! Now I'm opening other stuff by accident. Gigahorse has a problem with Cintiq moving them. We never move them unless we absolutely have to. Yeah, it's not the most portable thing, although they have portable Cintiqs now, but expensive. Like, they've got one that's actually a computer now, like Wacom does. Oh, I call it Wacom. I know people call it Wacom. Wacom. You need to ground it with your finger? The Tabby tablet? Oh, cool. DJ Mega Hammer. Oh, nice to see you in chat. I'll write this down. Edith Folk. Edith Fowke. Folklorist. Canadian folklorist. Cool. SH Don, thanks for coming. I know this is like not your schedule, but I appreciate you coming to see it live. Have a good night. Yeah, I think my first exposure to Canadian folk tunes was in school. Well, we sang some Canadian folk tunes in Ontario. Like, I was asking some BC friends, and apparently there wasn't a thing there, but we learned a bunch of them, and then we sang them in music class. So some of them I do recognize from this collection of music, but a lot of them I've never heard before. Like, I won't even attempt to sing any. Yeah, man, thanks for staying up, SH Don. I appreciate it. That looks funny. That's not right. So this song that's playing used to be the eavesdropping song in the Crimson Diamond until Dan replaced it. So the latest version of the demo, which is on Steam and itch.io, has Dan's new eavesdropping music in it. So you can check that out. But I do like this piece, too. Holy cow, lost look here in Switzerland, 414? Yikes, thank you. Do you want me to, like, be done now so you can go to bed? I feel bad, like, being here when it's that, like, early/late. Yeah, never learned American folk tunes in school, and there's some great ones, I'm sure. Definitely was a thing in... Oh, you're in Manitoba? Yes, Land of the Silver Birch. That's on this. I don't know if we can get it. Let's find Land of the Silver Birch. That is a classic. Let's find it. Because it is in here. What was it under? Land or silver? Silver? I know it's here because I've heard it. I don't see it. I know that's what it's called. Yeah, Deluxe actually recognized... Birch! It's birch! I think we've already heard it. Oh, last look, I'm glad you love pixel art and are fascinated by this lumpy bed and bad wallpaper. Oh, hello, Toma Katsanev. Thanks for coming. You can hear my voice is, like, going. Oh, hello, Art Burklaus. You learned about Crimson Diamond through Pushing Up Roses? Yeah, I can't even tell you how crazy that was when I saw that Pushing Up Roses had done a video on this. I had a heart attack. It was great. It was great. I conveyed a lumpy blanket with just a few dots. A few. And one of these pillows is looking kind of flat, though. Yeah, it's chugging. It is like this. Maybe the Surface Pro 2 is going to get the rest of the night off after this. Land of the Silver Birch, the classic folk tune. Yes, Roberta, there's a kitty under there that we're not going to draw or animate. We've all just decided. Yeah, Bill Kuhn, LGR and Pushing Up Roses. Love them. They're amazing. Hello, Sauce of Tech TX. Is that an apple pie with marshmallow eyes? Whatever anyone sees, there are no wrong answers. Lost Look asks if do you wish time froze around the era of old school games? You know what? I'd say no, but I love the fact that now with the indie stuff, it's so much easier to produce games like this nowadays. And so what we get is we kind of get the best of both worlds. We get people who are making games of this style but have learned from the stuff that's come since then, and we're able to incorporate sort of improvements to the style, and we're able to, sell them and get them out with a very small team, with a very small budget. I think that's amazing. And there are more adventure games now than there ever have been being produced. And I think it's fantastic. I think having the tools be easier to use has really helped make this a more available hobby or available profession. And I think it really opens it up to people maybe like myself who don't have a technical background. Yes, the Day of War Peasant's Quest from Homestar Runner. I love it. I love Boiling Lake. Yeah, the Deluxe Talks. We are in the golden era of gaming right now. I agree. Oh, Bill Coon got to meet Mike and Mac Chapman. Sweet. Oh wow, the recent Adventure Game Jam has 60 entries. That is amazing. I love it. Yeah, I recently helped judge a game jam. Let's start on this bedside table. I recently helped judge a game jam for Adventuron, which is a browser-based text parser adventure game engine that it's programmed so you can easily have it work for mobile, so you can play like old school style text adventure games on a mobile and also on PC and stuff. And I judged a game jam that had 16 entries in it, and they were most like I think all of them just about were just so much fun. And it was so cool to see, there are some entries that said this is their first time they'd ever made a game, and they were making a text parser game. I mean, what could be better than that? Let's see. Yeah, the Day of War, and a whole bunch of other stuff we didn't animate happens in Peasant's Quest. Yeah, that's how that happens. Like animation, it's all about being smart and efficient. So this is where we're going with the cross stitching, potentially. But you know what? Okay, you know what? I'm going to stop at 10:30. I'm looking at how many people are still here, and I kind of feel like, oh man, like I feel bad if I just end it because so many people are around still. I didn't expect so many people to come, which is really nice. Don't want to just like leave. But, like, I'm going to have to shut it down at some point. Lost Look wants to know, do I think Photoshop is a great tool to practice and learn pixel art? It's where I learned it, so I think it could be, but I think there are better tools out there now that are either cheap or free that you might be better off looking at. Because, yeah, Photoshop, the thing with Photoshop is it's great and it can do so many things, but the drawback of Photoshop is that it can do so many things, and it can be sometimes hard to kind of find what you need to use. It's not really optimized for pixel art. Like, I still don't have or know how to use, if anyone knows this, by the way, I should have asked this earlier. If anyone knows how to get a non-anti-aliased eraser brush in Photoshop CS2, please let me know. Because right now, if I want to erase something, look what happens. Look at this. Look at this. And I don't know how to get that to be non-anti-aliased. Like, I don't know how to make just an eraser brush that erases pixels. So what I end up doing is I just end up like painting it in a different color and just deleting that color after a while. So I don't know, people talk about Aseprite a lot. They say Aseprite is awesome, and I played with it just a little bit, and it is really cool, and I think maybe something like that. There's also something called Medibank Paint. I'll write that down. So this one is on iOS. I don't know, I think it's on other devices, but it's free, and that's a really good one that I like. I played around with that a bit. Hold on, let's see what I'm missing. I just want to catch up on chat. Oh, cool. Fura, you submitted a text adventure? Cool. I love text adventure. Like, I think that's like a gateway to people liking this style that the Crimson Diamond is, which is a text parser EGA adventure. I feel like if they're already getting used to playing like a text parser game that's almost just text parser, like my game would be like a next logical step potentially. So I love the fact that I see a lot of people making text parser games. Yes, Bill Kuhn. Eventually, I'm gonna have to sleep too. That is true. I know. I'm looking at the viewers. I'm like, I feel like rude stopping, but I should. Yes, A Sprite and DNA Beast. Thank you for mentioning it. A Sprite, and that's how it's spelled, and that's like the second reason why it bothers me. Like I don't like how that's spelled because I always misspell it. And there's two ways I misspell that, and like they're neither correct, and they don't have the quick mask that I like. Yeah, Orion Rezel. I don't know if there's a way to adjust hardness in Photoshop. There's still some things I don't know. Pixel Edit. Yeah, I've heard of that one. Toma Katsanov. Not sure on CS2, but other versions you can switch between brush or pencil for the eraser. Yeah, I don't. All I have on this one is eraser tool, background eraser, and magic eraser. So it kind of bothers me. But I have a workaround that works just fine. Yeah, Ryan Rezel Paint Shop Pro has a hardness change that changes anti-alias. But yeah, there's plenty of stuff now that is free and not as full-featured as Photoshop that I think are good places to start. Like Photoshop's great because it can do anything, like I said, but the eraser tool, I almost erased something. Yeah, it's just it's a bit like it's not necessary. Like Ace Sprite and Medibank Paint I think are really good options. And Medibank Paint is free, it just has some ads, but they're easy to just work through. Oh, yeah, so I don't know about anything about Paint Shop Pro, so I'm gonna leave it to you guys, but let's see what else is on this. Oh yeah, I forgot there's a baseboard that I put in. That I forgot about. I don't know if anybody recognizes this song. It's En Roulant, Ma Boule Roulant. Ask Alice might know. I don't know if she's still here, but that's a classic. Okay. Oh, Michael Dykewolf, thanks for coming. Yeah, I'm gonna like 10:30. I'm gonna wrap it up. But yeah, see you next week. Thanks for coming to all these. Really appreciate it. Oh, Furoy says graphic scale is free too. I should be writing all this down. Graphic scale, pixel edit. Oh, paywall but largely free. Good. Oh, DM Reaper, D Reaper 9. You got to try my demo at EGLX. Sweet. Did we talk? Oh, for the eraser, you can set the eraser to pencil rather than brush. Yeah, like not on this. Like this one, there is this mode. See, if this works, I don't know if you guys ever have this feeling. Like, if this works, I'll be so mad because, I've been doing this thing this entire way, this whole time, my whole life, without knowing this. And I'm angry because I didn't know this for so long. But I'm also happy because I have it now, but I'm mostly just angry. So I kind of hope this doesn't work so that I don't have to feel these feelings. Okay. Oh! Ugh. Okay. Oh, DV for 90. Thank you. We briefly spoke. I'm glad. Yeah, with events, it can be hard for me to justify like the expense. But EGLX was local, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot. But I probably won't do any events until this is finished now. Let me back up. Day of War, yeah, I'm sorry. Probably that's Nightbot. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to link something? Because I'm gonna make Nightbot be better with that. I'm sorry you got timed out, Day of War. I gotta. Oh, you're trying to. you're spamming caps. I can imagine what you're spamming. Okay, let's see. Uh-huh. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's just fine. Okay. You guys, are you happy? Are you happy? Oh, my nose is running a little bit. Okay. Good. Well, I'm gonna just stick with anger for now. That'll change over time, but you just have to give me a chance to square this away emotionally. Yep, the Day of War. Are you happy you made my life better? Was it worth it? Yes, like yeah. Make the brush smaller too. Yeah. Well, I can complain now that, I'm sure I'm so used to the other way that to learn the new way is gonna, take some time. Okay. Perfect. You know what? We'll just leave it there. That's a perfect time to end this. DNA Beast says if it helps, it took you ages to find it. Thank you. I appreciate what you're trying to do for me right now. Thanks. I do appreciate that. I'm gonna put up the links again. Do I have to remember? I have my notes. Okay, yeah. Let's put up the links again. Oh, thank you, Tom and Katsanav. You had an image to tweet ready to go? Yeah, I got there. Okay, I'm just gonna tweet this out again, you guys. CrimsonDiamond.com. All my socials are there. Steam, Itch.io, new demo for Mac and Windows PC are all up. It's not new stuff, but if it's the first time playing it, it's the best like it's ever been in terms of usability, playability, lack of bugs, hopefully. Of course, if you find bugs, please let me know. I'm still broken. Yeah, if you find bugs, let me know. Like, I'll hate you, but I'll be happy too at the same time. Like, this is very much the same emotion you're seeing right now. Please, if you find a bug, please tell me. Because it makes my life better and it makes the game better. Take some time. Okay, what else? What else did that have in terms of links to explain? Yeah, Twitter's there. That's my personal Twitter, so that's where I do follow backs and that's where I retweet fun stuff. There is a Twitter that is just the Crimson Diamond News, so if you want that, that is up in my bio, I think, somewhere. Or on the Crimson Diamond site has the Crimson Diamond stuff. Because if you're a Twitter person that just wants exactly the Twitter that is for the game and nothing else, then I recommend the Crimson Diamond official Twitter, which is not the one that's in this link. Facebook, I have a Facebook fan page where I put up this stuff. Post dance links, yes, I'm going to post dance links now. Dan Policar is the musician working on the music. He's using the Roland MT32, an actual Roland MT32 from the golden time of adventure game music. And sort of we switch off every other stream, it seems like. I'll do an art stream, then he'll do a music stream. And it looks like the plan right now is to do another music stream. On the back burner, I'm going to have an EGA demake stream potentially, which we'll do. So that's something to look forward to. Next week, it'll be hopefully music. I got to talk to Dan about that, but that's the plan so far. Yeah, the day of what's an actual Roland. Like Dan goes the extra mile. So I'm so lucky to have him working on this. And he figured out, if you watch some of the old music streams, which I will. Yeah, the demakes Bill Kuhn are demakes of classic, modern games of any kind. Like if you want to see a demake of some game that's now on, I'll try to do a EGA version of the screenshot. Yeah, so we're going to do that potentially. And so here is the stream so far. The previous art stream is the first link. The playlist of all our streams so far is the second link. And so if you see that, you'll see all the trouble and the lengths Dan has gone to make the Crimson Diamond music. He uses DOSBox. He uses Windows 3.11. He uses this crazy prehistoric librarian software. It's like a real education. So I recommend watching all the streams. The music stuff is amazing. Sometimes, if Dan will play, he'll play Smoke on Water, or he'll play whatever on a Roland MT32, or he'll play especially sound effect libraries from the Space Quest games or whatever other games he can dig up. So it's a lot of fun. It's a real blast from the past. And I think that's it, guys. I think I ran out of things to say, and I'm still in shock a little bit with the eraser tool. So I'm gonna have to think about that the rest of the night. But I'm happy and angry. I don't know what that is, but that's what I'm feeling. And thanks for the stream. Yeah, you guys, thanks for coming. This means a lot to have you guys out here and hanging out. But of course, I'm posting this up on YouTube with the rest of them when I get a chance. So when you get to OBS. And yeah, have a good night, you guys. Hope to see you next week. And I think we're out. Good night.